corrections. It's always a little frustrating. Is what it is. Okay, so we do have a quorum. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I apologize. We just had a crazy month last month, and one, I was not here, and we had two others, so we did not have a quorum. We do today, so thank you, everybody. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept the staff report into the record, or is there any changes?
I make the motion that we accept the staff report for, which month was it?
This, yep.
Yeah, for this one.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the April 13th meeting that we had? Are there any corrections or changes that anybody had seen? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Perfect. A review of the applications that were heard at the April 19th and the June 7th County Commissioners meeting. Eric, did you want to go over that, or Megan, were you going to? I wasn't sure who.
I can address
Okay,
that, Madam
perfect.
Chair. First off, we appreciate all the hard work you guys helped in getting the federal land use plan up and running. We got in a few minor comments right there at the end that were addressed in the commissioner meeting, but everything got passed and approved on June 7th. And that is now officially adopted by Sweetwater County.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, we will just get started. We have a lot of hearings today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Our public hearing number one is Eddie Kleinlein Jr., a conditional use accessory structure. And that is our first one. I apologize. That was on our docket for last month that we just were not able to do. So I'll turn it over to you, Megan.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. As you discussed, Eddie Kleinlein Jr. Is the applicant for this property. He and his wife own this tract of land. The common address out there is 801 Mountain Springs Road. The current zone is R2, which is mixed residential. And the reason that we're here today is because he's expressed interest in adding a shop awning to his existing structure. And because that gross floor area will be larger than his current residence, he needs to be approved for a conditional use permit. So that's why we're here today. A little bit of background, his existing shop is 36 by 50 feet, which is already 1,800 square feet. He's proposed to add another 720 square feet onto this shop, putting it over his existing primary residence, which is 1,830 square feet. As you can see, this is the site plan. What's highlighted in orange is the proposed addition for the conditional use permit today. And here are the public postings that Jim did twice to get this advertised legally for this hearing. And we'll just go right into the review criteria. The first one being, is it consistent with a comprehensive plan? And we find that it is. Criteria number 2, shall not adversely affect adjacent properties. The land use staff does not foresee this conditional use permit affecting adverse affecting adjacent properties. All adjacent properties have been notified and given the opportunity to comment. We have only received one comment back from an adjacent property owner, and there was no complaint from her. Criteria number 3, is it compatible with the existing or allowable uses in the adjacent properties? This property is primarily adjacent to other mixed residential properties. They would have to go through the same process if they so choose to accomplish what Mr. Kleinlein is trying to do here today. We also find that this property has all adequate facilities required for it to be a residential property. We don't see any problems there. And criteria number 5, adequate provisions for maintenance of the use and accessory structures. The requested 720 square foot awning to be added to the shop will be open on 3 sides. Sweetwater County's minimum spacing between accessory structures on R2 is 10 feet. And that will be adhered to once this goes, and if the county commissioners choose to approve this conditional use permit, he will then have to also apply for a construction permit in which he can get started building on that. He's waited a few months to get this going and has been very patient in the process, and we thank him for that. And criteria number 6, staff does not see any adverse effects happening on the natural environment. Criteria number 7 will not create undue traffic congestion, as this is just a shop awning. There's going to be, should be no additional traffic that would create any congestion in the area that he's living currently. And criteria number 7 will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, and staff does not foresee any problems with any of these 3 things. Criteria number 9 conforms with the zoning resolution. As I've mentioned earlier, this conditional use permit is requested because the accessory structure is being over the 100 square foot of the gross floor area of the permitted structure, unless this is allowed on the district use chart by a conditional use permit. He is conforming with all the process that we have in our Sweetwater County zoning regulations. As I mentioned before, the comments that we got received back to the office, one was a neighbor, Betty Lou Burdette. She has no comment. 3 agencies responded. Kinder Morgan does not have any assets or facilities in the described project area. Mountain West Pipeline, we do not see any issues with the application. Rocky Mountain Power source is in the southwest corner of the property, so Rocky Mountain Power has no issues with this variance. And staff recommends approval of this conditional use permit. That's all.
Thank you, Megan. Is the applicant here?
I don't believe so.
Okay. We'll go ahead and we'll open it up to public comment if there's anybody in the audience or via Zoom, I guess, that is in favor of the conditional use permit. If you'd like to speak now. If there's anybody against it, or just in general that would like to make a comment regarding the application. We'll go ahead and close the public comment portion, and we will open it up to the board. Does anybody have any questions for Megan or Eric?
I got one question,
Yes,
Eric.
sir.
Is this because of it's being attached to the existing structure, but being open, or the potential to be closed in at some point?
So anytime you cover a structure with a roof, it becomes a building, whether you put walls around it or not. So that's why it's considered part of the structure now. And yes, also because it's attached. So those 2 factors. And yeah, so if he does receive this conditional use permit, then he'll be able to actually put walls around it in the future. That won't be an issue either. So takes care of everything.
Is there a timeline on this conditional use permit?
No, it's indefinite. But it is specific to this structure. So if, let's say you wanted to put another structure up, a large structure on there, and it exceeded the square footage of the home. So a little bit of difference between the city of Rock Springs and Sweetwater County. City of Rock Springs does an aggregate amount. So let's say your house is 2,000 square foot, and then you build a 2,000 square foot garage, you're good because you're not exceeding square footage of the home. But you're limited. Once you've built that 2,000 square foot garage into City of Rock Springs, you can't build another accessory structure because it's aggregate, just as you keep adding on more and more. County, because we're rural and larger lot sizes, it's not aggregate. So I can build a large structure like this, and then I can go build another large structure. So, and that's due to the fact that we have large acreage in the county. And a lot of the lots are 1 to 2 acres when you get north of town. So plenty of space to put them.
And that was my question, because I know we talked about his dwelling and whatnot. How is this, a 1 acre lot or 2 acre lot? How big? I couldn't quite tell on there. I couldn't find anything. It
I
looked like a
believe it's just
1.
over 1 acre,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
Well, at this time, is there anybody that would like to make a motion for the conditional use accessory structure for Mr. Kleinlein?
I'll make a motion to approve public hearing number 1, conditional use accessory structure exceeding the 100% GFA of the residence.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or questions, comments before we call for a vote? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, motion carries. And I assume we'll just get a hold of Mr. Kleinlein to let him know. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Public hearing number 2, LR Communications, John Mock, conditional use permit communication tower. Turn it over to you, Megan.
Right, thank you, Madam Chair. This conditional use permit is for a wireless internet site, also commonly known as a telecommunication site when you start reading through our zoning regulations. The property owner is Green River Livestock Company, and the land is located just south of the city of Green River's town limits. It's on top of the big hill that's back there. And they've provided leases. LR Communications has provided leases from Green River Livestock, and they're okay. All that stuff has been pretty good because this is located within the growth management area. It's not just a construction permit. It has to go through the conditional use process. So that is why we are here today. As you can see, it's a little harder to tell on the aerial because, as you guys know, there's a few hills back there. But this is roughly where the site will be located. And LR Communications is proposing to construct a 60-foot wireless internet site to help in the expansion of their network. This site will look very similar to the existing site on Manface. This was a conditional use permit as well that was approved, I believe, about a year and a half ago, through all the proper processes as well. This site will be run completely off of solar panels. There's no need for any other utilities to be in the area for them to construct or keep running. And it is also proposed that it will only cover 15 feet by 20 feet on the ground up there. There were a few different site plans that were submitted by LR Communications giving the distances to the property lines of which Green River Land and Livestock own. They pretty much own that entire section up there, but the lease agreement was for just the northwest corner of that property. And it's roughly 600 feet to the property line to the north, 1,615 feet to the property line to the west, and 3,650 feet roughly to the property line to the east. And the picture on the right that you see is the existing Manface site just west of Green River. This is pretty much what they are proposing it to look like. And the solar panels that will be accompanying this are roughly 5 by 24 feet. Everything fits pretty nice and tight in a small location. They have also provided a 3D view just to help kind of point out where it's going to be located on the hill just south of town. And when Mr. Jim Zimmerman went out to post the public notice, instead of putting it all the way up at the top where nobody's going to drive and see it, he posted it right on hitching post where there's a ton of traffic and everything. We have gotten several calls into the office, more just kind of wondering what it is. Some people have adjacent landowners have received the public comment form, and I do believe there are a few people here that will be able to comment on this further in this hearing process. And I'll jump right into the conditional use review criteria again. This site will, as the comprehensive plan states, encourage growth and development to continue in an orderly manner and its locations that contribute to the economic and social well-being of county residents. So we find that this is applicable with our comprehensive plan. The request shall not adversely affect adjacent properties. The location of the tower is in a pretty remote area, so staff does not anticipate any adverse effects. Criteria number 3, the request is compatible with the existing or allowable use of adjacent properties. This site is in a similar location to the existing man-faced tower, and it is located near city limits and located on agricultural zone land. Due to this being within the growth management area, again, this is required to go through a conditional use process, being here at a public hearing today and not just a construction permit. Request can demonstrate adequate facilities. We've been assured that the facility will be solar powered only. Due to this being an unmanned communications facility, it is exempt from access standards per our Sweetwater County zoning regulations, section 4C, 5C. Criteria number 5, the request can demonstrate adequate provisions for maintenance of the use and associated structures. The site is well within setback requirements, and the footprint of the facility is also rather small in comparison to the roughly 40 acres of leased land that they have with Green River Livestock. Criteria number 6, the request has minimized to the greatest degree possible adverse effects on the natural environment. As I've stated before, the footprint is roughly 15 by 20 feet. Criteria number 7, the request will not create undue traffic congestion. As the site will be unmanned, it should not create any undue traffic, and the site is also remotely located. Criteria number 8, the request does not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. Staff does not foresee that the request will adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare. We did receive a comment from a radiologist that works at Sweetwater County Memorial that I'll go on to talk about a little bit later. And instead of putting words in my mouth on a topic that I'm not as comfortable with and don't know everything about, I will let LR Communications, when we get to the public comment section, address his comments a little more in detail. And criteria number 7, the request conforms to all applicable provisions of this resolution. Staff has reviewed the application and all zoning resolution provisions have been met. This was put out for agency and public comment. As I've stated before, we did have several calls into the office. A couple people just stopped in, just trying to get more information. Where is it located? What's it going to be? Is it going to be a cell tower, wireless internet site? And those questions are easier answered over the phone or in person instead of trying to write a narrative on a little comment sheet that gets put out. Just easier to answer questions that way. And we encourage people to call into the office or come visit us. The 2 agencies that did comment back, one being Mountain West Pipelines, they have no comments, and Rocky Mountain Power, there's no power to the site, so they have no issues with the request. And the only public comment that we got submitted into us was from Fred Matty, MD. He's an American Board of Radiology board certified doctor that works up at Sweetwater County Memorial Hospital. Eric, is this something that needs to be read into the record?
Probably to be on the safe side.
Okay. Comments below are in reference to LR Communications proposed telecommunications tower to be placed on Green River Livestock property immediately adjacent to my property. Please distribute this information per land use protocol for public and land use agency review. Please kindly withhold publicly posting any personally identified information contained herein, such as my telephone number or email address. Please also withhold publication of my physical residential address unless absolutely necessary. I have spoken with him on the phone, and I did create a map for him. It does show where his house is located, and he was okay with that. So just clarification as I get a little further into this. After careful consideration of multiple factors and potential benefits or harm to various parties, I am against placing the telecommunications tower as proposed for the following reasons. The tower of 60 feet height and its adjacent supporting structures residing within approximately 750 feet of my property would be unsightly and will significantly decrease my property value as well as decrease my ability to enjoy my currently beautiful views from my property towards the southwest. As a long-term resident of the Green River community, these scenic views from the southwest aspect of my property uphill were one of the primary factors attracting me to this property. While I work in Rock Springs, I have elected to live in Green River to enjoy such property benefits, including scenic views. The proposed tower will cause irreparable harm to the use and enjoyment of my property, as well as decrease my property value. The proposed tower proximity to my home is estimated at 750 feet from the southwest line of my property. See the provided map by the Land Use Department. The tower is also similarly closely proximity to additional residential families. The tower's close proximity would be within an unsafe distance to multiple family homes, including mine. Electrical magnetic forces, EMF, produced by the telecommunications tower have negative health impacts, including altered or decreased hormone levels, resulting in decreased body functions, headaches, fatigue. Other studies corroborate these findings. Mostly important, close proximity to a telecommunications tower carries an increased risk of malignancies, including lymphoma and leukemia. The effects of the telecommunications tower on human health has been studied most prevalent in Europe, especially in Germany, France, and Spain, where dense populations may be in relatively close proximity to such towers due to limited land availability. Correlated studies in the United States are relatively lacking and sparse at this time. The data suggests 1,200 feet is considered a minimum safe distance. However, there are still effects of electromagnetic forces beyond that minimum safe distance. Based on human health safety issues, utilizing best available data, anticipating residential property value loss, and resulting in ability to use and enjoy my current home and property, I request that the tower not be permitted to be built as proposed or moved to an alternate safer location significantly further away from me and my neighbor's home and out of sight. If alternative sites are not feasible, the proposed building and leaser's property of Green River Livestock is sufficiently large that the tower could be accommodated further to the southwest, which may mitigate the above concerns, but would need further review. I'm available for questions by the land use staff adjacent agency if needed. Fred Matthey. When Fred initially called into our office, he was wanting an approximate distance. As you can tell, he stated in there, I tried to make it very clear that this is a very rough distance. It's as the crow flies, but when you are trying to do as the crow flies into a mountain or hill, it's going to change that number a little bit. This was the best distance that could be provided at the time when he asked the questions. He called in originally last Wednesday and comments weren't received until early last Friday morning. I've included a copy of the map that was provided to him that was also referenced in his comments. Staff does recommend approval of this conditional use request for the wireless internet site. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Megan. And I see a couple LR Communications t-shirts. So if you guys would like to come up, introduce yourself and see what you got.
Hello, my name is Lance Lauder. I'm president of LR Communications. And so I'm here to kind of address some of the comments.
Okay.
So the site proposal location is ideally placed on the mountaintop, so it has visual sight to the residential area that we're looking to cover. I guess a few concerns I need to address is the EMF exposure from this site. And so all you guys have cell phones, probably in your pocket, on the counter, so forth, right? A 10-minute phone call on a cell phone next to your head is probably equivalent to the exposure that one of these residents is going to see from this tower over 10 years. just simply because cell phones effective radiating power is much greater than what we utilize. Cell phone facility uses AC power and a substantial amount of power to transmit and receive signals. The type of tower we're constructing is more on par with Wi-Fi. And so the level of power or EMF that the site generates is substantially less. I mean, hence the reason we can run on solar. I guess a few differences in the technologies. Everyone's used to cell phones, and your cell phone works basically wherever you go, in your basement, so forth. The type of technology and frequencies that we're using and the power levels we're using won't even penetrate the walls of a building atypically, at least not from that distance. You're used to your Wi-Fi working like that because you're within close proximity to your router. But a telecommunication site that we use for fixed wireless doesn't have that penetration that cell phones do or other like media. I think that pretty well addresses the comments. I guess any other.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so I do. I have some questions. So yours, basically your system is line of sight, correct?
Correct.
So you feasibly, you can't move that to out of the way location. You actually need to be able to see, your customers need to be able to point their dishes to your facility, correct?
Right. Yep. So there has to be line of sight as you state between the facility and the customer's dish, which is why we choose high locations. And of course, we mount the antenna on their home in a high enough fashion so that it has line of sight. The only exposure of any of the technology that we use is if someone is literally within a few feet standing directly in front of an antenna. And that's, they're mounted high enough in a way to where that exposure limit is not there. And then I guess one comment I would make is the FCC has rules and guidelines for safe exposure limits for humans. And certainly all of our stuff is well within compliance of that.
And you're having a 60-foot tower, correct?
Correct.
So 60-foot tower on the top of a hill, 750 feet to the nearest property. So the risk of that, let's say in a bad windstorm, falling over and rolling down the hill, because it is a steep hill, or pretty much nil, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we certainly have everything to lose if the tower fails.
Yes,
And we're,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? No? All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead now and open it up to public comment. If there's anybody in favor of the conditional use permit, if they would like to speak now. Is there anybody in the audience that is against the conditional use permit? Would they like to come up now? Anything in general? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public comment. If we're good, somebody take a motion, we can open it back up and talk about it. If not, motion to approve the conditional use permit.
I make a motion that we approve the L&R Communications conditional use permit for wireless internet site.
Thank you. Anybody?
I second that motion.
Do we have any further questions, comments for either the applicant, Megan, anybody? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Our third public hearing is Smith and Smith Rentals, Rock Springs LLC, Brian Smith, for a variance section 5.g with the Sweetwater County zoning resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is going to be kind of a two-part public hearing. The final plat is for Margie Smith subdivision. That's going to be the next public hearing that will go before. And you guys also haven't seen this one because it's a minor subdivision. So Brian and William H. Smith have submitted a sketch plat to our office back in, I'd say probably March. And it's a pretty quick review, 5-day turnaround. Do we see any major problems or anything with this? And then it goes straight to final plat, and that's the stage that we're at right now.
Okay.
So this public hearing is in regards to requesting a variance from section 5G for lot frontage and lot width to depth ratio. As you can see, the proposed property is located at the end of Mountain Springs Road, County Road 135. It's a mixed residential area. Only just, I believe, 2 lots over from where Mr. Clinland lived. So lots of things going on in this area. Brian Smith is applicant on behalf of Smith and Smith Rentals, Rock Springs LLC. He's working with William H. Smith to subdivide 3.2 acres of vacant land that he owns. Margie Smith is a mixed residential subdivision with 2 proposed lots. Proposed lot 1 is roughly 0.45 acres and proposed lot 2 is 2.82 acres. Both lots are accessible directly off of Mountain Springs Road. Brian is requesting this variance for the minimum lot frontage and minimum lot to width depth ratio for both lots 1 and 2 of this subdivision. He's requesting these variants due to the unique shape of the property boundary and location of parcels that is along a curve. The curve of the circular drive limits the ability to lay out the lots according to county requirements for the frontage access, and also due to the unique shape of the property boundary and location of the parcel limits the layout of the lot length to width ratio. This is a revision that we're still working on a little bit with William H. Smith to get a few things cleaned up. But as you can see, they're a little more irregular shaped lots than the normal rectangular lots that you would see in some subdivisions. So if we were to go to our zoning regulations, the minimum lot width is 75 feet for a mixed residential parcel, and lot 2 is approximately 50 feet and lot 1 is approximately 60 feet, give or take. This is a little bit constrained due to just the topography of the area and where the property is located in general. Here are the site photos that Mr. Zimmerman took when he posted the public notice. Again, minimum lot width according to Sweetwater County zoning regulations is 75 feet, and the minimum lot depth to width ratio is 2.5 to 1. Those are very hard to meet unless you have a rectangular lot. Irregular shapes also. This is why variances are in place for things essentially. The review criteria for this variance, criteria number 1, there are specific circumstances or conditions fully described in the commission and board's findings which are peculiar to the land or building for which the variance is sought, but do not generally apply to land or buildings in the neighborhood, but have resulted from any act of the applicant subsequent to the line of adoption of the zoning resolutions. As stated before, the total lot frontage available on these 2 properties is only 113 feet. They did the best that they could with meeting all of our other requirements to configure these lots in the space that was allowed. Going to sound like a broken record, the next couple criterias. Criteria number 2, for reasons fully set forth in the commission and board's findings, the circumstances or conditions are such that strict application of the provisions of Sweetwater County zoning resolutions would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the land or building. The granting of the adjustment is necessary or reasonable use thereof, and the adjustments are granted at the minimum adjustment that will accomplish this purpose. The applicant is proposing that lot 1 that will be 25 feet less than the 75-foot requirement, and lot 2 will only be 12 feet less. Lot 2 is a little more narrow lot layout by allowing the extra couple feet. I'm not going to do math on the fly right here, but by allowing this lot 2 to have more frontage, it also helps to make the lot more buildable. And then again, the existing shape of the parcel is taken into account to help make lots more buildable while also complying with other requirements when laying out subdivision lots. The granting of this variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning resolution and will not be injurious to the neighborhoods and otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. The applicant is proposing lot layouts that will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning resolutions. And we do not find that this would be detrimental to the public welfare. We put out comments for both public and agency comments. We did not receive any written public comments, but we did receive 2 agency comments. Mountain West Pipeline, again, didn't have any comments, and Rocky Mountain Power. As long as we can provide power to this property in an easement, Rocky Mountain Power has no issues with this variance. The land use staff recommends approval of this variance, and I do believe there is one landowner here in the area, and also a representative for Brian Smith is here as well from William H. Smith.
Thank you, Megan. At this time, are you speaking on behalf for, okay, you want to come up and introduce yourself and let us know what you have?
I'm Eric Harrison. I work with WHS Engineering. I live in Green River. I have lots of family in the area. I'm sure you've know them, but this lot, separating this lot will allow for more development in the area, and especially this peculiar lot shape. Sorry, I have to put it into words, but lot 2, the smaller lot of the 2, we wanted to maximize its ability and its potential. And so moving that, allowing for these variances will allow for wonderful property built on this mountainside that, I mean, we've already discussed this mountainside, how beautiful the landscape in the Sweetwater County is. White Mountains Water and Sewer District has been out there on site with me, and they had some concerns about the building envelope. But walking through this, they also saw the potential for a wonderful, residency for someone in Sweetwater County. So
I do have it, because that was the question of mine, is like water, can you get water and
yes,
utilities to the facility with Rocky Mountain Power? Is like, as long as is there an easement, or we can get an easement in there? Is there easements through there already dedicated for utilities or no?
yes,
Yes.
There is an existing easement that gets power to that area. With this plat, there's going to be a 15-foot utility easement that goes along the frontage of both of those lots.
Okay. That was my question for you. Thank you. Does anybody else on the board have any questions? For
Yeah,
him?
I got, so lot 1 is your smaller lot, correct?
oh, I think I had those mixed up in my mind, but yes,
Okay, and it's almost a half an acre, and out of that half an acre, it's like, is it all usable acreage
the lot
for building? I mean, it's
Lot
not-
1 is a very flat land.
Okay.
It'd be easy to develop on it. It does have a setback due to that easement, the water easement in the front, which means they will have a
Yeah.
bigger front yard. But walking around on it, if you look at the property, you have a large building envelope.
But basically, it's about 20,000 square feet for the lot.
Could be, yeah,
Yeah,
approximately
about-
half an acre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about half an acre.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at, 20,000, your lots in Rock Springs and Green River, your average lot's 8 to 10,000 square feet. So what I'm saying is there's more than adequate room to build a house.
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay, that was my question. And then lot 2, you've got almost 3 acres, 2.8 acres. And a lot of that's hillside, and how much of that is buildable? Just so people have a reference.
The front of that is very buildable. As you get back into that last acre and a half, it does become much more difficult to build back there.
But you're looking about an acre of
Oh, at
buildable
least.
land.
Yes.
So what I just wanted to have, so people can visualize how big an area that people have to build
Yeah.
it. So the frontage being, you look at some of the cul-de-sacs, you don't have, you have to talk to Rob on the exact, he's the engineer of the group, how many how many lineal feet you need on the front, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and, 20,000 square foot, that's a big lot.
It is a big lot.
Yeah.
Also, there's a beautiful waterfall in that back lot, that lot 2. It's
Yeah.
seasonal, but it'd be fun to.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions for him? Okay, perfect. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and we will open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience or Zoom that would like to speak in favor of the variance? Hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on behalf against the variance? Please come up and introduce yourself and
Hi, my name is Lane Owens. I'm the property owner that's to the south of that property. And looking at the map, I don't know if you can pull it back up or not. So lot number one, the smaller lot, when you take it into consideration of it is 20,000 square feet. It's a good sized lot, smaller than most that are going to be out in the county. Looking at that frontage of 50 feet, when you take a telephone guy wire and add 25 feet into the front of that lot, it would be very, very tight to fit a home in there. Also, there's the utilities. There's a manhole, sewer lid. There's a lot of utilities and things that are inside of that lot. So standing on my property, which would be to the direct west, looking over the top of that lot, you would have to have a very, very unique home layout to be able to fit it on that property without having a sewer lid in your driveway or a sewer lid in your front yard, or being backed up against the hill right against the property line. So with a lot of setbacks or anything like that, it would just be an odd spot for a home, in my opinion. Also, lot number two, the larger lot, again, being set back. As he talked about, there's a really neat waterfall and drainage that comes through there, as does my lot as well. So again, the reason I live there is because it is very, very nice. But with that drainage and everything that goes through there, being able to build setback and over, for one, you'd be almost in somebody else's backyard. The next adjacent lot, the Stoffers that are there, you'd almost be staring in their back door. It would be a very odd thing. So for me, I would be against it just in the fact that the 3.26 acres as it sits, to be able to put a home at the end of that cul-de-sac, centered in there. I think it would be more fitting for the area, for the size of lots. I mean, people that move out into the county, you're looking for property, looking for animal rights, to be able to have some of that stuff that you can't have inside of city limits. So having that 3.26 acres would then have enough usable space for a home to be able to have a shop, to be able to have, some of those amenities that somebody would be looking for. So for me, it would just be, again, cramming two homes into one area that really doesn't need to be. So that would be all my comments.
So I got a question for you. So you're saying a lot one, are there some easements in there? Are there some?
There is some easements. I know White Mountain Water District comes from the east through the property, through my property onto lot one. From what I see.
Are they on the lot lines or? Because I can't see it. I got my glasses and I can't
that's
see
why
it
I
either.
asked, I couldn't quite tell. Yeah.
So that easement then, that takes out actually quite of the building. Because you still need your setbacks on your easements, correct?
No, this is. Yeah.
This is your easement, correct? This is your easement corridor, correct? For what, water or sewer?
Water.
And I don't know where the manhole cover is, but it's in my guess would be where it says 50 feet. It would be really close to the middle of that 0 on the end of 50.
So I guess my question is, what does that, with that easement going through, how big is that? A 10-foot easement?
That was
Or
15.
15? You don't have any dimensions on it. I just can't tell. Some of them, Rob, some of the easements on water can be anywhere from 10 to 20 foot. Hell, I got one going across my property. It's 100.
I was going to say on my property my driveway comes just off of that telephone pole that's there. And so that guy wire goes again into the middle of his potential frontage. But mine comes from the trailer court below up and across, I guess that road. It's kind of a weird spot, but there's also the fire hydrant and everything that's kind of tucked in that corner just off of that property on my property. And again, I don't know where all those things are underground. So like I said, building a home there, I think it would be very difficult. And with the lot shape, how it is, again, as you can see, mine is kind of in that southern corner. And then all the hill that's behind those lots, that big hill's mine. And the way that it's laid out, it would just be very weird, but it would be nice for a single home to be able to be in there and have that canyon and have all of that space to enjoy. With like you said, lot number one is the flattest spot. It's the most usable kind of area.
But if you have
But
an
kinda
easement going through
centered.
that lot one, it's taking up a third of that lot that you can't build on.
Yeah.
And I don't know I know you can't put a fence or anything over an easement unless you get permission. I don't know, how much does that leave you for, this is for the engineer, how much does that leave you for the building of lot one? Yeah, with the setbacks and everything.
Like I said, from my view, again, I'm not an engineer, don't know any of the stuff, but that guy wire that travels across the front of that lot, the sewer lid that's in the middle of it, there's just a lot of things that would be,
Well, the sewer lid, you can pay, that's not that big a deal. The guide wire,
yeah,
Rocky Mountain Power can, I mean, that would be a building issue that they could resolve. Or else Rocky Mountain Power might tell them to go scratch and not be able to move the guide wire, depending on them. I mean, that would be up to the builder, but with the easement and everything going through, boy, this makes it a little bit tougher.
like I said, for me, just looking at it, doing construction, being in that industry for a while, growing up, it would be a difficult, oddly shaped home, in my opinion. And I think it would just be better fit for a single home on that lot. So
Well, I
that's what
kind of
I've
like
got.
the idea of, the oddly shaped home. I like the uniqueness of
Yeah.
it. I do like that. And I don't want to begrudge anybody. I mean, 2 lots, I mean, it kind of makes sense when you're talking about a 20,000 square foot lot.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. And when people say they obstruct their views, I mean, that's private property. I mean, if you don't want to obstruct the view, buy the lot. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my thought there. I just worry about the easement, and if as long as the building envelope's big enough, I mean, then it's on the builder, but
Absolutely.
I agree, it is something.
I understand that. Like I said, that was just some of my concerns. And again, it doesn't necessarily block my view. So I'm not as concerned about that as it is just, again, the area of having just that little tiny lot and then everybody else being a little bit larger and just having, to me, it seems feasible of one lot by itself and it doesn't
well,
necessarily
Megan,
need to be
is there a
dealt with.
minimum county lot size?
There is a minimum county lot size, I believe for the R2. It's
1 acre, I believe. isn't it?
10
Or 2.
7,500 square feet.
Oh, 7,500?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing that is, and I want to back up just a little bit, I'm still learning being able to separate the public hearings. In answer to the power, the guy Y power that's running through there, one of the conditions on the final plat to be approved is right now the power is located outside of the easement and is in the county right away. That is going to need to be
Oh, is in the second or
relocated
the other
and to
hearing.
follow and go around. That will help a little bit with that. Not saying it's going to fix everything. And another answer, I believe, Casey, you're asking the question, when you have an easement, there are no setbacks from that easement. You're just not
You
recommended
can build up
to
to the easement
build in
Okay.
it. Correct.
with a permanent structure.
Correct.
But the property owner has to realize if they have to come in there and do any maintenance, any digging, that is on, they don't have to redo that. If they have grass there, the utility company comes in there, digs that up. That's on the property owner. That's not on the utility.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Owens, for your input.
I
Thank
have
you.
one question,
Oh.
please. Is this the manhole we're talking about on this photo here?
No, so that's the manhole, that's mine.
Okay,
So there is one further, like I said, it's much further into the
back
lot.
into the lot. Okay.
So there's that one, there's the one that's kind of in the middle. It's just somebody getting that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to speak just in general regarding the variance? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion, and I will ask for a motion.
I've got one question,
Okay.
please. So without separating these 2 lots, they meet all the criteria for the county, correct?
Correct. They do.
Thank
you.
The only thing that I don't see getting that really is the ratio, because you're on a cul-de-sac, so that, instead of getting the full front line. So it's not, it's cul-de-sac. Got 'em jacked up right there.
Okay. Anybody like to make a motion? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we grant Smith and Smith Rentals a variance for their lot frontage and lot width to depth ratio.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Do we have any final discussion questions that anybody would like to ask?
I just wish that there would have been a little bit clearer on the drawing showing the easement, but other than that, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion. Oh, you opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion does carry. Thank you. We'll move right into public hearing 4, which, like Megan had said, goes kind of hand in hand with public hearing 3, Smith and Smith Rentals, Rock Springs LLC, Brian Smith, to approve the final plot for the Margie Smith subdivision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot of things came up with our last variant, so I'm gonna not go much more into detail since
Yeah,
most everything
no.
was covered. Casey, this one might show it a little bit better. I apologize for not having a good, I will ask you guys a question in future when I am presenting subdivision. Would you guys like an 11:17 copy, hard
Yes.
copy to look on the outside of things, or even a 24:36?
That would
Bigger.
be amazing.
Okay.
We all have amazing eyes. Yeah.
My eyes are old.
I know, I wasn't gonna speak for everybody. I was like, my eyes aren't as great as these.
I'm sorry,
That
I
would
just
be
couldn't
good.
see the easement and that kind of is like a little bit of a shock.
Not a problem at all. That is definitely on me for that one.
No,
You
that's
can't
good.
replace hard copies and stuff, so
No, It's all good.
I apologize for that and we'll remember for the future. From the public and agency comments that we did receive back, we heard from Kinder Morgan again, and they do not have any assets in the described location. Mountain West Pipelines, they have no comment. Rocky Mountain Power, proposed lot 1 has no power. It would need to come from the power pole to the lot to the south. Proposed lot 3 has a secondary pedestal on the north line. As I stated in the last hearing, the power that is located out there and the power pedestals are actually in the cul-de-sac of the county road right away. One of Gene Legursky's, the Sweetwater County Public Works Director, one of his comments back in the sketch plat phase was this was going to need to be relocated into an easement for purposes that utility companies can get in there, get things fixed when they need to. And it's a dedicated easement that all utility companies would be able to use. And staff comments, these are more of a compilation of the engineering and land use department. And these are an abbreviated. There were other things, but they were more just trying to get the plat cleaned up and look presentable. The main comments that I had were in regards to the liens that were listed as items 37 through 40 on Schedule B of the title commitment. The liens on this property, and this is a situation that's still being worked out with engineering company, White Mountain Water and Sewer, and Northern Title. There are liens still on the property that are yet to be released. I think a little bit of the confusion that is happening in this is in talking with Kathy Staley, White Mountain Water and Sewer District Administrator, going back in their records, water and sewer to this area was put in different phases. Back in the 90s, sewer was put in and it was just sewer. Unfortunately, when those liens were created, it did not state in the document that it was just for sewer. So when the title company is going through and looking at the liens is releasing sewer. It says sewer only, leaving the question out there, what happens to water? And again, in 2000, when the water got installed to this area, it's the same exact thing. The liens didn't state that it was just for water only. The releases state that it was released for water. So it's a matter of trying to get the title company to work with White Mountain Water and Sewer, William H. Smith, and the county to figure out the best possible solution with this. Everybody's been in contact with one another. We're trying to figure out the best way, mostly to get documents recorded here at the courthouse. One, so that if this final plat were to go through, there's not going to be any further problems with title commitment for people that would potentially purchase the property. So that is still in working order and is going to be one of the conditions on this final plat to get figured out prior to hopefully next Tuesday, when this goes before the board. If it needs to take a little bit longer to things get wrapped up, it will also be a condition on the board's resolution as well. Another comment. Oh, excuse me. So there's actually 4 options that were provided by Northern Title as options to mitigate this problem. The first being provide Northern Title a copy of an improvements agreement that shows the lien recorded on book 834 and page 1232 was for water, and an improvements agreement showing that the lien recorded on book 938, page 93 is for sewer only on these properties. And since these properties have been subdivided, it's been a little harder to track some of this stuff back and not being able to find recorded documents, just trying to make things recorded. So that's option number 1. Option number 2, White Mountain Water and Sewer to provide an affidavit attesting to the fact that 834 page 1232 was for water only, and that book 839 page 93 was for sewer only on these properties, and that there's no outstanding balance for water and sewer on these properties as well. The third option, if neither of these 2 options can work, White Mountain Water and Sewer can file release for the subsequent water and sewer documents. And the last resort is to have White Mountain Water and Sewer signed as a joinder on the plat. This is the last resort, because if they do signed on a joinder as a plat, it's not cleaning up any sort of problem. So if we can get it taken care of in one of those 3 options, and it can be removed from the title commitment, it's going to be in the best interest for everybody moving forward. A couple more comments that I had was that the public utility easement needs to be 15 feet instead of 10 feet. That's per subdivision regulations for Sweetwater County. Also, that if the variance is passed, that needs to be noted on the final plat as well, stating that the variance for the lot frontage and lot width to depth ratio was passed. And again, we're just working through, just trying to clean up the plat a little bit, make it a little more legible, and make sure all the certificates of dedication and signatures are reading correctly. Staff requests that fees in lieu of be waived for this subdivision. It's not big enough to add any open space, parks, anything like that. And talking with Gene Legursky, Public Works Director, he would rather not have any more open area or public parks for the county to maintain.
Weird.
Staff does recommend approval of the final plat with the following conditions being met. Liens listed as items 37 through 40 on Schedule B need to be released as directed by Northern Title with the help of White Mountain Water and Sewer, or a joinder signature block will need to be completed for the appropriate signature from White Mountain Water and Sewer District on the final plat. Item number 2, Land Use Department needs to have a signed letter stating all required improvements will be completed within the 180 days of the last signature on the final plat. I did receive this letter yesterday. Just a little bit of background on that. The amount of improvements that need to be installed, water needs to be carried into lot 1. So that needs to be finished bringing from the road into the lot so that water can be had for that property. And then sewer is almost on the property. It just needs to be finished and being stubbed out. And then relocation of power into the public utility easement, and also fixing the road after that power has been moved, totals to around $10,000 worth of work. We can either do a financial improvements agreement with Brian Smith for the property, or we can hold the plat for up to 180 days. If that work gets done and everything, signatures will be done. If and when this gets approved, it can be held for 180 days. If that work does not get completed within the 180 days, the plat becomes null and void. And that's where we'd be at that. So I did receive that letter yesterday. I did not have it when I needed to submit the staff report to you guys on Friday. And the third criteria, final plat cannot be recorded until all required improvements are installed and approved by the county. And the request for variance must also be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. That's all I have, Madam Chair, if you have any questions.
Yes, no. Yeah, I'm like, my brain's. All right. Did you, on behalf of William H. Smith, want to say any more regarding this second phase with the final plat at all, or do you feel like you've covered it? It's up to you. Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and we'll open it back up to public comment. If there's anybody in the audience in favor of the final plat approval. Is there anybody that is against the final plat approval? Just anything in general anybody would like to add or say regarding the subdivision? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public comment and we'll open it back up. Questions? I feel like possibly, no, you've got your covered. Okay. I mean, do you guys feel like one of mine, do you feel like the 180 days is enough that this can happen, that the criteria is possible to meet? Okay. Okay. My biggest concern, I guess, as the other side of it is the lien part with title. I guess I go with Megan is I really don't want them to be a joinder on the plat. I would just assume these things be taken care of because it's just going to carry with the property. That is my largest concern at the moment.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just to add on to that, this has been a process that we've been going back and forth. It's a busy time of year for everybody.
Mhm.
White Mountain Water and Sewer is going through budget hearings and stuff right now. So they're not able to bring this problem exactly to the forefront, but
Okay.
everybody's been very cooperative with working and trying to get this all
Okay.
solved in a timely fashion.
That is my concern. Anybody else have any questions, comments? All right. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the Margie Smith subdivision final plat?
Make a motion, we approve the Margie Smith subdivision final plat.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Do we have any final questions, comments?
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to make sure all these conditions are
Absolutely.
approval, so friendly amendment to your recommendation, that we add the
With all the staff.
recommendations.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion does carry. So will we get a hold of Mr. Smith to let him know about the county commissioner meeting? Okay. Thank you. All right, we're slowly moving. Sorry, guys. Those were two big ones. Public hearing number 5, Industrial Services, Inc., Dan Stanton, a variance, again, for section 5.g of the Sweetwater County zoning resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll handle this one. I've
Okay.
got a little bit more knowledge of this one and as to what's going on. So the property owner is Industrial Services, Inc. Applicant is Dan Stanton, Industrial Services. It's the Signal Summit Lot 1, which is 590 Signal Drive. Current zoning is commercial. Infrastructure is Fire District 1. Signal Drive is the access point, and it's Rocky Mountain Power, and it's within the White Mountain Water and Sewer District. So Dan Stanton of Industrial Services is has a request for a variance from the rear and side setback within the commercial zone lot that his business resides on. And per the zoning resolution, rear setback is 20 foot in a commercial zone district and side setback is 10 feet. Applicant states for optimal use of the property, we would like to encroach on the back and side setback requirements. We would like to install a 60 by 30 storage building within 5 foot of the rear and 5 foot of the east side property lines instead of the 20-foot rear and 10-foot setback regulations. So here is a both aerial and zoning map of the lot. And as you can see, the location of the property or the building is going to go in the upper right-hand corner. I did have a conversation with Mr. Stanton concerning the location. There we go. So I basically stated that I was not okay with a 5 foot, with the building being 5 foot from the property line. And I was not okay with a 5 foot setback. So where we came and compromised together was a 10-foot rear encroachment in the rear setback and to maintain the 10-foot side setback. So the reason why I was not okay with the 5 foot on either side was because of, in the county, we do not have building code. So things aren't built with fire protection walls and well, it is with the fire code, but the other building elements are not inspected. We don't do framing inspections. We don't do electrical inspections. So that is a primary reason why our setbacks are a little bit larger in the county than they are in the city where they do have building code. Why I'm okay with the rear 10-foot setback is we're looking at changing our current commercial zoning resolution to allow 10 feet. I feel the 10 feet, the 20 foot is too restrictive. I understand that 20 foot for I-1, which is light industrial, and I-2, which is a heavy industrial. So that is why I'm okay. If we're looking already at changing these things, I was okay with the 10-foot rear setback only and not, and the side setback is 10 feet. So unless things have changed with Mr. Stanton, that's what I would recommend moving forward is a 10-foot rear setback variance. So we can just go through that. These are the, of course, the things that you have to keep in consideration. Is it peculiar to the building or peculiar to the land or building for which the variance is sought? If you go back, Megan, back to the aerial photography. So there's, as you can see, there's a lot of space there to put the building. So it was kind of difficult to say, well, let's put the building 5 foot from both the side and the rear because there is enough space to put the building. It's, it's a regular size lot. So that was another reason why I was not in favor of the 5 foot. Okay, go back, Megan, to the first criteria. So, okay, if you can go to the second criteria. For reasons set forth in the commission's board's findings and circumstances, a strict application of the provisions of the Sweetwater County zoning resolution would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or building, and the grading of the adjustment is necessary on the reasonable use. And that's why I was okay with it being 10 foot if we were already okay with locating that structure and changing the zoning resolution. I was okay with putting it 10 feet from the rear setback. Okay, next one. And this is the most important one. Obviously, it's not injurious to the neighborhood. And so with it being 10 foot, it's definitely going to meet the fire distances separating the properties. So we do not see it being injurious to the neighboring property. As far as agency comments go, there was no comment. Rocky Mountain Power had no facilities and they had no issues with the request. Staff supports the request with the following condition. The variance is for the building specified in the application and allows the placement of the building 10 feet from the side and rear property line. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Eric. You're the only one left here, so you must be Mr. Stanton. If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself. And
Hi, my name is Dan Stanton. I'm president of Industrial Services. I live in Green River, Wyoming. I'd like to just point out that I had very very good conversations with Eric. He's reasonable to talk to, which you don't find often at the county or a city.
No.
So I just wanted to point out that I do appreciate him very much. And he was open and honest about right out the gate that you're not going to get 5 foot. Here's where we can meet you. And I think it's very reasonable that my side or my rear setback is actually the side setback for my backside neighbor because of his property comes out on signal. So that 10 foot, really, I'm just trying to keep it from being a tumbleweed storage area.
What, out north of Rock Springs? What?
Yeah, that corner of our lot is, that's where they all collect coming off the mountain. So that was my main goal. 10 foot in there, I can live with that. I'm happy to do that. So it still makes the structure where I want it to be and usable. So
Can work. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Stanton?
So you're fine with 10-foot rear and a 10-foot side? No issues?
no, sir,
Okay.
no issues.
Oh, you don't have to call me sir.
Well, you're sitting on that side of the table, so it's habit.
Take it while you can get it.
Yeah,
Casey. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment if there's anybody in the audience in favor of the variance. Is there anybody that is opposed to the variance? Anybody in general that would like to speak regarding the variance? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion. We'll open it back up to the board for any final questions, comments for Eric or Mr. Stanton. Megan, anybody? No? Okay, hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to approve public hearing number 5, Industrial Services, Inc., Dan Stanton. Variance section 5G, it's 10 feet on the side setback and the rear setback.
Thank you. Have a second?
I'll second that.
Perfect. Any final questions, comments? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So we'll go on to the county commissioners meeting on the 19th. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. Sorry, you're number 5 there. We'll go on to public hearing number 6, which is land use department. We have some language amendments regarding subdivision regulations and subdivision exemptions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have this one also. As you know, we are currently working on amending our subdivision regulations. They are outdated. Some things to look at also are the lot to front depth ratio. So there can be some flexibility for engineers when they go in there. Both cities do not have I don't believe they have a lot front to depth ratio. So it's something I think we need to look at in updating our regulations. But our legislatures, as you know, are busy and they go in there and change our statute. And the county is an arm of the legislature. And so when they change stuff, we have to change stuff in our regulations, just like we did with the solar. And so back in 2020, and 19, they changed the exemptions. And so we need to update our regulations up front, which deal with the family subdivision exemptions. And so that's what we're doing here today. So they're very straightforward. There's not much of a choice here. When they change the state law, we have to change our law to match exactly. So if you're not aware, there are subdivision exemptions. And one of them, that's a great thing in Wyoming, that we can deed off our property, if you own enough property, to immediate family member. And so this is what's we're changing in our code to match the legislature and the statutes. So the one that's changing is, so when you want to go deed off property to your children or immediate family, this is what the requirement is. So the land shall have been titled in the name of the grantor, so that's existing language, or in the name of a trust controlled by the grantor, so that's being added, for a combined period prior to the division of not less than 5 years for land titled before February 27th, 2019, or 10 years for land titled on or after February 27th, 2019. The reason for that was actually done just a couple of years ago. is they changed the law from 5 to 10 years. And we had people north of Rock Springs that were actually waiting for the land, for them to own the land for 5 years. And as soon as the legislature changed it on them right before they did it. And so they felt it was unfair. So they kind of put a grandfather clause in here. So now if you own land prior to 2019, you only have to have owned it for 5 years. And now it, just so everyone knows, it's now 10 years. So if you own property, you have to own it for 10 years. So if you create a parcel, let's say you own 40 acres and you want to deed off 5 acres to a child, son, daughter, they have to own it for a total of not less than 5 years or not less than 1 year if the parcel was created before February 27, 2019. I want to clarify. So when people see this on YouTube, this is the legislature that made these changes. It's not the county, because what happens is I get phone calls and they're like, why are you changing it from 5 to 1 to 5 years? This is the legislature that changed that. Okay, so 5 years is now the requirement. So if you do deed off stuff now, that person has to own it for 5 years before they can sell it. Okay. So that's a big change. And another one change was on B, which a division which may be created by any court of the state pursuant to the law of eminent domain by operation of law or order of any court in the state. And then this is just added on, except that this paragraph shall not exempt a partition of real property pursuant to Wyoming Statute 132-101 through 132-122 from compliance with this article, if the division would otherwise be subject to the provisions of this article. Partitions are different than divisions. This is in a different section of the Wyoming statute. I'm actually going to have Mr. De Leon explain the difference between a partition and an exemption or a division. So division is actually when you're dividing property. I believe a partition is when you're splitting not ownership, but interest. So I'm going to let Mr. De Leon explain.
I mean, I agree with that. And I think the purpose of this is so that if the court is making a decision, that decision isn't necessarily exempt from having to comply with the subdivision processes and the county regulation. So I guess what we've encountered before is where you can go into court. The court can make decisions in terms of whether it's a divorce or some sort of land dispute, can make a division. And this is speaking to the applicability of the county regulations to those particular circumstances. So I agree with Eric's description, and I think that's the description of what this language is addressing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then the last exemption that is the sale or disposition of separate parcels of land that were separate when lawfully created or conveyed, which have not been combined by a recorded instrument or conveyance signed by all the owners. And Madam Chair, and there was another inclusion except as provided in Wyoming Statute 18.5.316. And that's really it to match the currents.
So not too bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Anyway, let me switch this back. That's all I have, Madam Chair. And of course, this would go as a notice of intent before the Board of County Commissioners, and then there would be a 45-day comment period. And today would be a certified recommendation for these changes. We have full intention of continuing through the process of changing these regulations and working with Mr. Gerard and Mr. Doak as we move forward and making amendments. We're just going to have to take it section by section. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Perfect. And we still do need to do public comment, correct?
Yes.
John, okay. We'll go ahead and open this up for public comment for the Land Use Department on the language amendment. If there's anybody in the audience for the change. Is there's anybody against it, we have no choice, but anything in general, anybody would like to say in the audience? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion and open it up to the board. Do you guys have any questions? Anything else? No? All right. Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to approve the language amendment, subdivision regulations, subdivision exemptions.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Perfect. And then our last bit of business, we have Kayla McDonald here from the Sweetwater Economic Development Coalition is going to kind of give us an update, and I'm really kind of bummed I'm going to miss that one. It looks really, I think it'd be good.
I guess it's still morning, so good morning. Thank you for having
Early.
me. Yes, Kayla McDonald, Sweetwater Economic Development Coalition. I am the Economic Development Specialist. I'm here today to just give you guys a quick update on a few things that we're working on. We have before you a couple flyers that we are doing some seminars this summer. We have brought in most recently Betsy Hale from Cheyenne Leads. She came in and gave a quick overview of economic development, and we have encouraged some of our candidates that are running for office and current sitting elected officials, as well as business owners and just general public, to come to these. These are a program that we are doing with a registration fee of $15. You get a breakfast. It starts at 7:30. The Homewood Suites. Our next one is next Thursday. We are encouraging everybody to come learn about what the state is going to do with the infrastructure bill that is coming down the pike. So come learn from Rob Krieger, who is the policy director for Governor Gordon's office. Rob is very knowledgeable on this. He's great. We'll probably talk a little bit about broadband expansion as well. And then we also have another program that's going to come in and talk a little bit about some carbon capture projects that are being looked at here in Sweetwater County. So that registration is online, and also some big news for SEDC. This probably will be coming out this week. We've been hoping to get it out sooner, but most recently we have recruited Kel-Tec Firearms here to Sweetwater County in an expansion effort for them to do their pistol line. So this
wonderful.
project is exciting for us. We're very excited to be able to have them here. They are going to be a great addition to the community with providing about 20 jobs and upwards to 200 in the future. So big thing for us. And so that will be coming out from them. They have to get it to their people, then to us, and then down the line. So something exciting for us to get out there.
Super
So
exciting.
other than that, we're working on a strategic plan, finalizing all of that right now. We just met as a board about a month ago to get all that worked out and kind of direction of how we're going. So I'll take any questions or comments.
No, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Is there a limit on for your workshop or the infrastructure development on the 21st, or?
We are hoping to have another full room. We had about 30 people last time. So if we can get up to 30 to 40, we'll be happy with that number too. So we encourage you to come.
And I can say I did attend the June 30th one. Very informative, very good. Could have gone on for hours, I can tell you that. So yeah, they're putting together a really good program. It's good information.
Well, I love the idea of contacting candidates and
Mhm.
whatnot. That, yeah, that's awesome. To let them know what's going on around your county. So thank you. That's good.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Eric, Megan, do we have anything else under other business that we need to add, or?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone this morning, and everyone who came in the audience. I appreciate that. And we will adjourn.